Welcome to Three Guys, One Brain. We're the three guys and the one brain. Yeah. I'm Jason.
I'm Leroy.
And I'm Royal.
All right, so today's topic, social
Social
media.
media.
Good or bad? Or both. Who knows?
Yeah.
Kick it off, So,
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you guys think? So for me, personally, so from how it used to be back then to now, everybody's, shares everything.
sure.
They just share, oh, look at this food, or, look at this and that, and it just, seems like almost like nothing is private anymore. Like, before, you want to call somebody, you can, you had to call their phone.
Right.
And everything, and then you didn't know what they were doing in their life unless they told you, over the phone, hey, yeah, I'm over here at this place. Or you never would even find them because they were not at their home phone.
I mean, yeah, you had to have a home phone. Even today, and I think social media might play a large part of this, but, it's a lot more comfortable, even for me, to text people as opposed to calling them.
Yeah.
A quick text, I don't have to deal with all the pleasantries, and, it just seems like it's kind of a time-saving thing, right? I don't really have to stop what I'm doing. I just fucking do, and then I'm off on my way.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I mean, like if it's a long thing that I want to say, I do want to call the person and be like, hey,
sure.
This is faster if I just call you and tell you. Can I call you really quick? And then I can just say everything I got to say. But I do like the text messages, because it's just or if it's a number I don't know, I'll be like, text me first so I know who it is, because I don't answer phone numbers I don't know.
And I say that a lot. If I don't recognize the number, if it's not stored in my phone, that comes up as a number, I'm not answering it.
Yeah.
You can leave a voicemail, I'll probably listen to it. I did see your phone call, but sending me a text is just way quicker.
Yeah, definitely. What's your take on it, Ro?
It's a big one. I mean, social media in all platforms is kind of tough because I enjoy the fact that I can keep in touch with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
I get acquaintances or friends that I had way back in the past or whatever that follow me. I'm telling you, maybe 5% of the people that are on my friends list actually conversate with me on a regular basis. Other ones just tend to lurk and see what I'm doing, and that's fine because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll just scroll through, and see what they're doing. It's changed dynamics in all sorts of different areas of people's lives, though, that is kind of for the worse. Like, you've got to have a cell phone policy at your job now so that you're not flipping up your phone, because the minute you hit Facebook and start scrolling, I can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The minute you hit it and start scrolling or whatever, you're going to be on it for 10 minutes and you're not doing anything.
Right.
So they need to curb that, You never had that issue in the past. I don't like the weird. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticed this, but if you start mentioning things, you're talking in conversation, there's a very good chance that later on, maybe next week or even the next day, that's going to pop up on your phone,
right,
as an ad or something like that. Almost like it's definitely listening, even though your phone is just off.
Well, it is. It's not necessarily social media.
No,
social media takes advantage of it, but that is a very that's known. That is a thing. Google service does it. Every one of our phones.
Yeah, I don't appreciate it. I get the point okay, I don't want to see ads of stuff that's not relevant to me.
Right.
But I don't want you hearing every word I say.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have the right or ability to tell them no.
And that's what. So here's the other. That's the other thing. Just go off the grid. Stay off of social media altogether. Or you're almost every service that you can get on you almost have to have a Facebook to be able to access some of the things of that service,
right?
Or something of that line. So they're all tied together, and talking to people that have never been on Facebook don't have a problem. But if you've been on Facebook and then you try to get away from it, you can't do menial things in your life that Sure. I have a landline. I have a home phone. and it's now become a phone number for people to just call and spam me with my warranty on my car that I don't even own is bad.
Which is a whole different topic for a whole other show.
Sure, but my landline is completely pointless at this right now. If I were to get rid of Facebook and all that stuff, I'd have to give everybody my landline, and then they all text me. You can't text a landline; it doesn't fucking work.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't know how many times what is this message? And then I texted you, and
you can pay to have that message transcribed by a computer voice.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Who's going to do that?
If you can't call me and talk to me,
who's going to do that?
If I went off the grid and then you can't call me and talk to me on my landline, then you didn't have that important stuff to say anyway.
Yeah.
Texting, I have a very mixed feelings about texting. To me, it's not faster because you're having to type it all out and then make sure it's spelled correctly. And then, like I mentioned earlier or whatever, we were talking, you don't get people's facial expressions. You don't get their tone of voice, and you lose the context of the words that are being said. And some things are misinterpreted very easily texting. Sure. And I've run into that constantly.
Right. And that's an issue I think me and you ran into this week when discussing our platforms on social media. And, so the backdrop for that, basically for you guys to know, is so we had the link to our podcast, which was our very first podcast. We're all really stoked and excited about it.
Yep.
But the link that we had was for Google Play service. I tried to click on that link, and it basically brought me to Google Play, but it didn't bring me to the podcast. I kind of mentioned it, and I was like, I didn't have Google Play on my phone. I deleted it a long time ago. Maybe it's just because it wasn't on my phone. Mm-hmm. And a couple of my other buddies were like, hey, man, I couldn't follow that link. And ultimately I was like, just throw up this Buzzsprout link. It brings you to like every single service that our podcast is listed on. Maybe that's a better idea. But then it seemed to, from my perspective, like it turned into me going, hey, you need to change this now. And my buddy, Royal, spending what appeared to me to be like 3 hours trying to figure out how to fix it. And I was like, Jesus, man. Like, it's no.
I stayed out of that thing completely because I was like, I don't know if I should intervene or I'm like, I'm just going to stay out.
From my perspective, there was no animosity. I didn't feel animosity coming back from him. I just felt like we were miscommunicating. And I think I would have been much better served to just pick up the phone and be like, hey.
Let's just talk. It
would have been so much easier.
Blah, 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 blah. We'd have been like, oh, cool.
Right on.
Which again, I still don't understand why they couldn't use that link. It worked for numerous different people and different accounts that I used to test it.
Right.
And some people just couldn't use the link. So it's fine. I'll just post a different link. Sure. That'll be Buzzsprout's link.
Yeah.
And easier that way. I only have to. It was weird because we posted 2 links. And then like your link on your Facebook got posted differently. And I can't post on your Facebook account.
Right.
So if you share something, just make sure it's Buzzsprout. And we're all
gravy.
We're all gravy.
Awesome.
But I was misinterpreting the whole conversation as, hey man, what bleep bleep? I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I posted both links on every service, and you're telling me to change the link on your Facebook. Like, what are you talking about?
And I mean, just picking up the phone and talking about that in 2 seconds would have solved that entire problem.
We're like, okay, it's fixed.
And that's why I hate texting.
But this guy's like my cousin, right? So it's not like I was like, fuck this guy. You're fucking up my podcast.
If we have arguments, we just go outside and deal with it and come back.
Right.
I did have another thing I wanted to mention. So do you guys ever feel like sometimes Facebook can be really addicting? I mean, like for me personally, sometimes I'll be there, because I was off Facebook. I had it before. Then I felt like I spent too much time on it, and that's all I did all day after work.
Go ahead.
Speaking
of that, the reason why I agree with you 100% is because I've checked Facebook probably, no joke, 100 times today. And the reason being is because we started that first, we sent out that first cast. And I wanted to see what people thought and comments and stuff. And I was checking it all the time, just seeing Just to remind our friendly viewers and listeners.
Yep.
Like us on Facebook.
Please.
Click the notification button on YouTube when we get the podcast rolling.
Yep.
Comment anything.
Tweet to us on the Twitter.
Put a
And,
like.
you know, it'd be nice to know how we're doing. You know, this is our second podcast. We only have one currently posted as we're recording this one.
Yep.
I'm addicted and I need it.
And we're all like, do people like it? Should we even do this anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ease our pain, people. Just be like,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy to click the thumbs up, right? But, you know, be like, hey, guys, good job.
Yeah.
Shout out to Majara. Because he's one of the people that actually did comment on that.
Awesome.
So
Thank you,
guys, for your feedback. And we hope to hear from the rest of you guys soon.
Nothing against the other commenters on the page either. Just shout it out to him because he helped us with a little bit of feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just from my perspective and my Facebook page. That's all I've seen. I don't know if you guys have had comments back on yours.
I have.
Do you want to give shout outs to people for commenting?
Well, I did have a shout out to a friend from work. Thank you for watching it. Or for checking it out and stuff.
Thank you, friend from work.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the people that seen the teaser trailer, like Jeremiah, thank you. Cindy, Bobby. Yeah, that's. I think there's a few other people, but I'm not sure exactly who. Wow.
There were. I think it's 92 now.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you guys. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's seen it. Like, for reals, that's awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. And yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, like I would find myself like just getting stuck there looking at stuff, and then, well, like not only that, but I would just be looking at things, and I'd be like, what, like the posts that people would post, I'd be like, hey, so are they just posting something in general, or is this post like about something at work or something about me or something about, and I was just like, I would think too much about it. Yeah, and I'm just like, wait,
that's a
and I was like, I have to get away from this. I'm gonna like only check it once a day, then rest of the day, no. So like and stuff like that, or like, do you guys ever have to like limit yourself on that? Because it was kind of seem like games.
I go through weird phases. I will just not be a part of Facebook for months at a time. Usually it's because something happened. I got into a philosophical discussion with someone and they got really upset, and I don't want to perpetuate the problem anymore. I don't want to lose a real world friendship over what's really nothing, but it just because it's on social media, and this is something else I'm going to hit on later, but because it is social media, it has this stigma of me against you. And people tend to just get real defensive and they react defensively. Whereas if it was me and that person sitting at a table just discussing it, it would be a completely different vibe.
Would you say maybe that it's because they can't see your facial expressions or your context from the text platform?
That's possible.
Oh, yeah. Probably
possible. I'm also very blunt and very asshole-ish, and I think
but
when you're in my face, right, like, you can read all those nuances in my body language and understand that it's not coming from a hyper-aggressive standpoint. It's just me being me, right? But when it's all in text or, which is most of what I'm talking about on Facebook, it just comes across all wrong. And I think and again, not to just like shamelessly say his name over and over again, but my buddy Majara, me and him have had several of these instances where we're actually arguing the same point. The only difference in our points is our perspective on the point that we're trying to make.
Yeah.
And we will literally just it's both of us. It's trying to state our opinion and trying to get our point across, when reality of it is we're saying the exact same thing.
Gotcha.
So something both of you guys hit on, and we're currently talking about the addictive nature of Facebook. So some of these things I've known, but I knew we were going to do this podcast today, so I decided to do a little research on it this morning to just kind of make myself somewhat informed.
Yep.
I'm addicted to TED Talks. I have been for a really long time. I think TED Talks are great because they're one person that's given a 20-minute platform to talk about something that they're an expert of the field in. So there are several social media TED Talks.
Oh, wow.
So social media literally triggers a dopamine response in your brain. It's something we were talking about of like looking for those likes, looking for those comments, looking for people to like say, yeah, you guys are doing a good job. So as a human being, this used to be all interpersonal 15 years ago, right? We went to a bar or we were talking to our buddy at work or whatever the case may be. But we got those adulations from each other and it was completely natural. It still created this dopamine response in our brains. But we got that from social interaction, not necessarily social media interaction, right? So what we were, I guess, pseudo addicted to was the social aspect of life, right? Like going and hanging out with your buddies and talking to your friends. And we've, as a society, and this is worldwide, with the exception of some third world countries, literally have just, that whole thing has started to shift towards social media. You get a lot more likes on Facebook, which triggers that dopamine response much quicker and much more frequently in your brain than actually talking to a human being. You know, so we do become, like, literally, like, chemically in our brains, we become addicted
I could see
to that nature.
I could totally see that.
And then, you know, the other thing of this one TED Talk I was watching, it was talking about how depression has increased since the rise of social media. And this woman in particular at the TED Talk I was watching, this is what she focused on, was why social media causes depression in human beings. And, you know, part of it is the persona, because that's exactly what our Facebook pages are. They're an alter ego of ourselves. So we're not going to just tell everyone about all the crap in our life. Right? We're not going to be like, yo, this is all of the stuff that makes me a terrible human being. You know? Though we all have those things, we obviously don't promote that part of ourselves to the world. So we create, whether I am not the type of person, I'm an open book, right? I am not the type of person to try to hide my dark side. We all have a dark side.
Exactly.
But, you know, like I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to a complete stranger about mistakes I've made. But on Facebook, 90% of what you see me post is humorous or positive me. And we all do this to a certain extent. Some people do it more than others. So when you're scrolling Facebook, you literally just see the pretty face that everybody wants to present to the world. And if you think about it as, like, we're all guys, right? Me and Royal are married. But once upon a great time,
together,
we were.
You guys were married?
I mean, we're both married in our lives, right? We both have wives. But before that, ultimately, we would have had to have gotten those wives because, you know, whether she's the only woman I've ever hit on in my entire life or I've, you know, done it to many, there's that period of dating where it's all a front, right? Like, it's all, hey, you know, it's all smiles, and this is all the good things about me, and I'm not going to tell you that my job pays me $8 an hour because that's kind of embarrassing. You know what is cool?
I still live in the basement.
But so that's basically what we're doing on social media. We're dating the world. So we're only putting our best face forward. So you as an individual are having troubles in life, right? We all get to that point. We all have bad spots. We all have bad days. I mean,
exactly.
So you get on social media, you're scrolling through your Facebook page, and all you see is Jimmy ate at this great restaurant. You know, Jordan just started dating this hot chick. You know, that hot chick just started dating Jordan. You know, like, why are these guys' lives so goddamn great when I'm over here struggling and can't pay my bills this month, you know?
So, I see. And that's where the depression comes in.
When you're looking at this and, like, you know, misery loves company, right? So you're on Facebook, you know, maybe you don't feel like talking to people, and everything that you see is everyone else's positive reactions, right? So in turn, it makes you feel worse about yourself. So before social media, we had to talk to people in person. No, we get that. There's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, you're hiding behind that persona or whatever. You can hide tons of things on that. You can hide tons of things on video.
Right.
I mean, none of us are wearing pants.
So
you'll never know.
I don't want this to sound like we're just straight up bashing all social media. So my list of pros. I love to travel. I mentioned this a little bit in our last podcast, which might have gotten edited out now that I think about it.
No, I think it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Maybe.
Okay, so we didn't post that podcast, but yeah, you're right.
Right. So, which will be bonus footage, and that's all you guys get to know right now. Because when it does come out, you're going to be like, what the hell were those guys talking about? Now I know. So anyway, I love to travel. And I spent a lot of time traveling. And I worked in seasonal employment, which I'm not really going to go into a whole lot, given the topic or whatever. If you want to know what seasonal employment is, look it up. It's basically working in the tourist trade. You're working a job that lasts for like 4 to 6 months at a time. But so those types of jobs tend to bring in a lot of international people. Now, it costs a lot of money to call Russia. It costs a lot of money to call Taiwan. Mm-hmm. I have friends all over the world, and it's really easy for me to keep in touch with them and to keep track of what they're doing and how their lives are going just by scrolling through Facebook and checking them out. And, you know, if it wasn't for having Facebook, I would never speak to any of these people. I have lots of friends in Jamaica all over the place, but I wouldn't know anything about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Shout out to our Bulgarian listeners.
And I actually do it. Ruslan, holler at your boy.
Family in Mexico.
But, you know, so that's the great thing about Facebook. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, is why I never will probably delete my Facebook. I might walk away from it for a little while. I might need a break from it. It might start to get a little too intense for me. I might feel like I just need to work on myself for a little while. Exactly. But it will always be there so that I can come back one day and I can check up on, you know, Ruslan and Sergey.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of my friends around the world.
That is really awesome. Just to touch back a little bit on like how you were saying about the TED Talks and stuff, that totally fits me exactly, because I kind of went through that. I would look at all this positive stuff or like people in relationships and everything, and I was just like, dang. And I, you know, like I can't, you know, like get this or that, you know, and I'm just like, you're totally right.
Oh, the envy part of it?
Yeah, yeah, you know, like, wow, you know, like these people are, you know, they look all happy and stuff. Who knows?
Yeah,
they might be miserable.
Like,
yeah, you know, they might be miserable. They're just putting up an image of like this perfect life, happy, being together and all this stuff and everything. And I was just like, what the hell? And everything. But exactly, that totally fits me. Because like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would get depressed. But like how you said also before, like where a lot of people put positive stuff, I did have a variety of friends that do put some like dark stuff. Sure. And then I can relate with them, you know, even more, because I'm like, wow, they're going kind of like to the same thing I'm kind of going through. And we post, I like every now and then I'll post like 4 or 5, 10 memes or things like that. And mostly it's, you know, it's just me stuff that I find hilarious and things more about what's going on in my life.
Right.
Not really necessarily about somebody else, you know, and everything. Like I just post it because I think it's funny, or I post it because that's something I'm going through at a time. And then every now and then somebody will reach out to me and be like, hey, are you okay? You know, and I'm like, it makes me feel good, you know, like somebody noticed, you know, kind of like, I mean, like, because like it's hard because like you don't really want to post it like, hey, I'm going through a bad time, I'm depressed and blah blah blah, and because then you get like a ton of people, you know, but like I don't want to, you know, put that on somebody, like, or burden somebody else, you know, with all that stuff.
And you also have to deal with the people that are like, are you okay? And should I come over? Do you want me to call you? Like, no, I'm good, man. I'm just, you know, life sucks.
Bro. Yeah, just going through a moment right now, you know, and stuff like that. But I mean, but like that, like how you said that TED Talk, I want to watch it now. Yeah, that totally seems, I mean, like something that'd be cool to see and everything. But yeah, I've had to limit myself. I've had to like I thought at one point of deleting it and then just starting all over again and things like that. But and then ultimately, like how you said, well, I have all these friends like in family in Mexico. Right. And to re-add them again, you know, like on a different account or something, it's just too much work. And I'm like, they're already there.
But then
why do it again?
You know, different account is a, you know, different social media site, and it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's not just Facebook, right? Like we're using the word Facebook because that's, I don't have a Twitter personally. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't have all that. What I have is Facebook. But you know, if you just kept in touch with them in other ways, unless legitimately you called them and did it that way once a week. Just set aside some time in your life to make some phone calls and talk to people, which wouldn't be a horrible thing, but it's a lot more time consuming than just scrolling through your feed and checking them out and seeing how they're doing and typing, what's up,
Yeah.
And one of the really interesting things to me is during that TED Talk, she was saying, for research purposes, she decided she was going to go a month without any social media at all. She didn't delete any of her accounts, but she basically deleted the apps off of her phone. And for 1 month, and then 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 9 months, she didn't check social media at all. And she found that during that time, she became more productive. She read more books. She went out and socialized with people more, and she became a much happier person. And that wasn't even necessarily, she did that for the research purposes, but she didn't expect that extensive of results from turning off the machine. Right?
Yeah.
So she also, really funny thing about her is she makes a living by using social media platforms to boost people's businesses. And that's what she does for a living. So, having that perspective, she ultimately had to come back to it, for networking. And, she came back full circle into positive sides and, the business connections she's made and, political connections that she's made and ways that she's, in a certain sense, changed thinking across the globe from her research, and those connections were made on social media. So if it wasn't for social media in and of itself, then she never would have been able to do the experiment that she did, and it would not have catapulted her into the success that she's having in her current industry. And I find that really interesting.
That is awesome because, like you just said, that totally fits me because I did take some time off of it, and I did feel like that. Like the 1 month I think I took off recently, I felt much happier because I didn't know what was going on, and because I would look into things like too deeply, and I'd be like, "What are they talking about? Or who are they talking? Or something?" And I'm like, "Are they? Does it mean me or who? But once I got away from that for like a whole month, I was just like, it was peaceful. And I felt happier, just like you said. I agree with that totally.
A little bit of a break from it is there's a place for social media.
Absolutely.
A little bit of a break is okay. It doesn't hurt nobody. A day, 2 days, a week, whatever. I find that if I start my day with a cup of coffee and my computer, that's all I'm probably going to do for the day.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Right.
So if I know that I need to get certain things done, as simple and menial as laundry, I need to not turn my computer on, because the minute I get Facebook rolling and I'm scrolling through, I will go to Twitter, and then I will go to Twitch, and then I'm gone for 3 hours, and then certain shows that I watch are like 5 hours long, and I'll be gone. So if I want to be productive that day, I just don't turn it on until I'm done with what I planned on doing.
Right.
And that's part of the addiction is tough. It's tough. You can throw the laundry in, and then you're waiting for the washer to stop. So you go up there and you turn it on, and then 3 hours later you go, oh yeah, the towel's crap.
I think it's really interesting to note too, and it's something I think about probably far more regularly than I should, is, we all are old enough that we knew the world before. I knew the world before pagers. And I'm not that old. I'm only 38, right? So this whole social media thing, I think if you really look at it, it didn't kick off until 2002, 2004. I know 2002 was like the big startup of like YouTube. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't even have an email address until probably 2005, 2006. I was a little behind the bar on that. I'm very old.
I didn't have a cell phone until like 2014.
Right. And I remember going, dude, get a cell phone.
Because nobody calls me.
Yeah. I used to have like the flip phones.
That's cool though. Nobody calls me either. I have this fancy phone that costs way too much money, and I use it to check social media. So we talked about depression and we talked about, the personal aspects of it. Well, back to what I was saying though, right? The younger people or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they don't really know a time before social media. So they don't necessarily have the same perspective about it as we do.
Yep.
I wonder if they've evolved and adapted to where it doesn't make them, or
that's
are the younger
younger
generation like even more depressed naturally because of that aspect.
And if you look at suicide rates in youth these days, and not just that, but how youth view suicide, it's really disturbing to me.
I see what you're saying.
And that could have a lot to do with the fact that they were raised on social media and all the things that we spent talking about.
Exactly.
It could be an argument.
To a lot more. Yeah.
It's really interesting. But we have this perspective of life before. So we're much more able of, looking at it of the bad side and the good side. Right?
Yes, exactly.
So
now I just miss playing Oregon Trail on a 3x5 floppy disk.
Oh. The younger viewers who don't understand Oregon Trail, you would probably hate it.
I mean, you might like it, but you just
it was such a great thing. So I remember I was going to school in the 80s, and so our first computers were.
Who knows? Like the TRS-80?
They call them bricks, I think is the general term for them these days. But, it's like green DOS script on a screen. And you insert a floppy disk and wait 2 hours for it to boot up. And, I'm not even going to get into DSL and, all the other stuff.
Well, I went off before, though.
I went off on this tangent because we were talking about me being old and Oregon
go back
Trail.
Even further, though. Oregon Trail and the TRS-80 were like, that's not even internet. Like,
internet?
Internet was like, well, when you're talking... dial-up and stuff like that. That's your internet. You're looking at AOL
I always remember like it had a little speaker in the computer, and you could hear it go when you're trying to connect. Yeah.
And I didn't know this personally because my family never had a computer when I was growing up. I was super poor growing up, but I would go visit friends, and we'd be downstairs like waiting 45 minutes for the dial-up to load, and then you'd hear, "I'm waiting for a phone call. Get off the computer."
Yeah. I remember that too.
If you don't understand the context of that, then you're probably one of those youngsters I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I would call up my friend. I'm like, "Okay, dude, we're gonna play World of Warcraft. The very first one." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna hang up the phone right now. I'm gonna try to dial in. We're gonna connect." And hang it up.
Right.
And then nothing would happen. 30 minutes later, I'd call him back. Did it go? Did it connect?
Well, you just called me and booted me off the internet.
Just booted me off.
We'll try again. And then, there's silence again. And we're just there. Me and my friend Aldo. If you're watching Aldo.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. But once we got connected, it was awesome. He'd build his army, I'd build my army, and then clash.
And then it's like, that's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
I just keep going. So it's not too bad of a subject. Social media, didn't have it back then, but there was a game I played that you could say anything you wanted and the game would generally reply to you. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So I can't remember what they're called. There's a platform. I'll remember it later. It's a game that has there's nothing going on. You type, it tells you you're at the northwest corner of a big white house, and you say, "I want to walk up to the door," but you say, "Walk to door," and it'll bring you to the door. Very base. It's off basic, so it'll tell you stuff like that. But anyway, you type in anything you want, and if you start cussing at it, if you would start cussing at the game and saying, "You're being a pain in the ass," or whatever, it would say, "Hey man, watch your language." And you'd be like, "What?" And then you're like, and then you're like,
"Fuck you!"
Yeah, fuck you. And then it's like, I'm warning you. It's like I'm warning you, and you're like, "Whatever, you're not gonna do nothing, you piece of shit thing." And it'll say, "Okay, fine," and it'll boot you out of the game.
Wow.
I was like, that's amazing. And I remember clearly doing that as a kid, and I'm trying to think of the name, and someone will probably just.
And that was the beginning of Terminator.
Yeah, right.
That is how AI is born.
Yeah.
Zork. That's what it was called.
Zork.
It's called Zork.
Ooh.
Interesting.
I want to try that. I want to try that game now.
So the game is basically there's a house. You go down in the house. You go down in the basement. You go searching around. There's a treasure room or cabinets in the main living room of the game. You're supposed to go down and find artifacts and bring them back and put them into the cabinets. And that's kind of what the game's about. And it's like, you don't even know. It's like you're sitting at the house and there's a mailbox and then there's a thing and then there's this and there's the welcome mat or whatever and the door's locked or whatever. If you say, look in mailbox, there's a key in the mailbox.
Right.
Oh. But it doesn't tell you to do that. You have to figure that stuff out. Right. And it was really amazing.
That's awesome.
You know,
I think that was also the beginning of escape rooms.
I don't know about that.
It's a little bit how escape rooms work.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
You just kind of show up and you're like, what do I do? And
what do I do?
Like, there's a mailbox.
And then you start looking for clues, and clues lead to more clues, and that leads to the ultimate goal of the escape room.
That gives me a different perspective of escape room now.
Yeah.
Escape rooms? I mean, I've never done them personally. I've watched videos of them. I'm kind of half interested in doing it. I think it costs too much.
There's an escape room 2 blocks from my house.
Yeah. It'll cost like $120 for us to do it, but why not? Maybe we do it and we do a podcast about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Can we record it? Will they let us bring in a camera?
I know.
I'm sure they would. They'd be like, you guys don't understand. We're 3 guys, 1 brain. We're on all the podcasting services right now. Look us up.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching our podcast. This has been 3 Guys, 1 Brain, and this is part 1 of the social media topic that we're doing, and part 2 will be released a week later. So thank you everyone for listening to our podcast and also watching our vodcast when we release that. And have a great day.